Hello, hello. Welcome back. You awesome technologists. Welcome back to the podcast. So it is starting to feel like spring. I'm not sure where that's going, especially here in the Midwest, because this weather is very bipolar and it has been a lot of up and down. And I think like yesterday they were supposed to say it was supposed to snow or something like that. It's supposed to rain and we're supposed to have like these 60-degree days. So I don't know what's going on with the groundhog, but I think he kind of lied to us because Mother Nature can't seem to make up her mind as far as if she's going to just dump snow on us or just give us, gorgeous weather. And listen, I'm a desert person. I'm from the West Coast and I will take my 100-degree weather every single day of the week. So I'm ready for summer. So little housekeeping. If you haven't heard, I do have the Core CT Protocols Guide bundle available for purchase. So you can get it in two different versions. So there's a physical copy of the book with the course bundle, and then there's a digital version of the guide that comes with the course bundle. So either one of them you can get, and it's available for purchase. The link is in the show notes. So make sure you guys check in on that. Also, with whichever one you purchase, you also get a 10-episode audio series that you can listen to on the go. And it's basically on how you can dominate your CT training. So a lot of the courses and a lot of the things that I do is really geared to help that incoming of brand new CT technologists that really need a lot of help. And I see it every day because we train new technologists at my job, and it is just a thing that, it's very needed because CT programs, I am just not 100% confident that a brand new CT tech is going to know everything that there is to know when it comes to that. So make sure you guys check out the show notes, get the guide today. It'll definitely help you, and the courses help as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Lots of educational stuff is coming to the YouTube channel, and the video portions of this podcast go up on the YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out as well, and follow along on TikTok because I do all my protocol videos on TikTok. I do repurpose them to Instagram. I know I've been a little dormant on Instagram. It's just, I run two different brands. So I have another brand that I own that has nothing to do with radiology. It's a completely different niche. And I'm also doing a partnership licensing venture with my coach on that. So I'm getting ready to implement that in April. So that's pretty exciting stuff. So that's a totally different niche. So to run two different brands, two different pages, it's a lot, you guys. But make sure you guys subscribe to the show so you can get the latest and greatest as well and get your hands on that protocol guide. It's merely a reference to help you in your CT training. It is not meant to replace any SIPES protocols or any radiologist specific protocols. It's just a guide to help you. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the hidden ego problem in CT training. Oh yeah, this is a big one. I was debating on talking on this topic, but now I'm kind of glad that we are talking about it. So one thing that I do see a lot is the unspoken issues with ego when it comes to really learning CT and just the issues that block that learning in the CT department for new technologists and even technologists that may be switching jobs. The unspoken issues revolving around ego is, I tell you, something else. Okay. One of the problems that I see is that some CT departments prioritize hierarchy over teaching, over educating, over training, which that is just beyond me. And I do not understand that. And what kind of trickles down to that is that new technologists are afraid to ask questions. They're shamed because of not knowing CT, or they should just know, or you should already know this by now. How many times did I show you? They're taught incorrectly and it's inconsistent training. So, think of it like this. You have technologists that are really good at their job. And then you have technologists that they think they know that they're good at their job. And they have this ego problem, like, you can't talk to me a certain way and I know everything and you're not going to tell me anything different because I don't need to know anything and I don't need to learn anything new. So you have like a batch of those technologists. And of course, you all that are listening, I'm pretty sure you've encountered people like this. It happens everywhere. Okay. So what is the trickle down effect with that? Technologists get anxious asking for clarification on exams they don't understand. There's huge learning gaps because one person will say one thing and another person will say something else, and it's never consistent. Or, person with the ego problem, doesn't want to teach anybody. I mean, I had a technologist at one site that didn't want to teach any students, said, I don't teach students, so get out of my way. And just had this huge ego problem, thought that they knew everything and that students didn't need to be taught and wasn't interested in it. So that makes them feel very isolated, like they're on this little island all by themselves, and that's that. And then there's this loss of just, mentally feeling okay and thinking, okay, I can do this job. There's a safety issue there, especially people who have big egos but don't really know shit. Okay. This is something that I see a lot. And just stick with me here because I feel that there are a lot of social media creators that glorify what we do in radiology and say, oh, well, you can do this, you can have this, and the money and the flashy cars and this and that. Oh, it's great. I don't have to do this, but never tell the other side of when you're coding a patient on the table, when, patient has an allergic reaction, when patients have open wounds, when patients are crashing, the just not so pretty side of what we deal with in radiology and in CT departments. Patients who are combative, being punched in the face, punched in the stomach, poked, scratched, bitten, you name it. That's the side that they do not tell. And I think that our profession gets glorified too much and people just find it very redundant because they don't talk about that. And that is the nitty gritty when it comes to that, right? So a lot of just anxiety. And then you get technologists that will be afraid to ask questions because they get shamed, they get bullied. And there's a lot of that goes on, not only in radiology, but like in nursing and different parts of the profession in healthcare, right? So then what happens is that they're not taught correctly. It's inconsistent and they don't know how to properly execute an optimal exam because they weren't shown the right way because somebody has an ego problem and they can't just put their ego aside and their pride aside to actually show them how to do something and how to execute an exam correctly. Okay. So what we have to start doing as far as when we're out there training is we have to make sure that if you're a new technologist, you need to shift your perspective in your thinking from approval seeking to skill seeking because you want to seek out your skills and be better at your skills than getting approval from people that are in this hierarchy. Okay. We can't sit there and try to gain approval based on, did I do this exam fast enough? Did I do that, based on what they said or how they told me to do it? You can't because your skill set are going to be your own. You have to build your own system. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to take away from is focusing on documenting what you don't know. That's why I encourage everybody to make sure they carry a notebook because you need to write down things you don't know so that you can ask questions and have clarification on the exams, contrast, positioning, whatever the case is, because you have to build your own system. You have to build your own skill sets because you can't build your experience off of somebody else. You have to build it off of your own, right? So, and a lot of things that need to happen is we need to separate ego from education because those two things do not go together. Okay. Your ego is just going to kill it. And that's why technologists leave because, they tend to leave certain places because of bullying, of shame, management not taking people, into account and holding them accountable, not recognizing that there is a problem and things get swept under the rug. People get a slap on the wrist. And usually people leave because of management. They don't leave because of money or some of the people that they enjoy working with. Now, yes, there are technologists that leave if they are just tired of getting bullied. Management is not doing anything. Yes, but huge core of that is because they leave because of the management ignoring the problems that are there. Okay. So We have to take our ego out of the mix because your ego is going to harm patients. I'm going to say that again. Your ego is going to harm patients, and that is not what the priority is. The priority is making sure that the patient is safe, they get the correct exam, they get an optimal exam so they can get a clinical diagnosis. Okay. As educators and as people who are training preceptors and people who are training the new incoming techs, you need to make sure that they are taught correctly, it's consistent, they have a plan of attack for the day, they have structure in their training is set up so they know all the basics. You have to execute that so they feel comfortable coming to you asking questions when they don't know something. They have to be able to not only psychologically feel safe, but physically feel safe in that space. Okay. Because I can tell you, I've encountered techs that, have come from other places that they've gotten bullied and they physically don't feel safe. And I don't understand the whole, fucking shaming and the bullying, because why? Okay. There is no such thing as gatekeeping here. We're all here to learn, and there are some things that I've learned from technologists that have been in the business 2 years versus technologists that have been in the business for 30 years, because I work with a variety of the two. So ego does not belong in CT training. What belongs is respect. What belongs is kindness and common courtesy and positive constructive feedback when, if you do something incorrectly, that you give that positive constructive criticism. What that's going to result to is these technologists are going to be confident and they're going to be able to function independently. They lose their fear. They don't have to be fearful of asking any questions. They make stronger decisions and they will be self-led with self-directed growth. And that is what we want, because a lot of techs, you want to be the go-to. Okay. And with those things, you can be, and you can be very successful anywhere you go. Okay. You cannot control the department culture. Like, we cannot control the culture. We can't control, egotistical techs. We can't control any of that. Okay. But what you can control is how you learn, how your structure is set up, how you want your training to go, and how you execute your exams and build your skill set. The protocol guide bundle, it gives you all the stuff that some departments don't. Okay. It gives you the basics. It gives you a little bit of structure, and you have at least some common knowledge on the most common CT exams. So make sure you check that out in the show notes. So that is it for today's episode. So like I said, make sure you get your course bundle, whether you want a digital or physical. It's in the show notes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow along on TikTok, subscribe to the show so you can get the latest and greatest on the podcast episodes. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.